All right, so today we're talking about business foundations, continuing with module 1, and now we're going to talk about legal considerations for different types of entity registrations. And in the last video, we talked about what are called sole proprietorships and how that affects your liability, the different tax things that you're responsible for and how it affects your taxes, and then how it affects you operationally. So in the next section of legal considerations for business foundations within module 1, we're now going to talk about partnerships and how that is related to the same kind of thing. So what exactly is a partnership, and how exactly are you going to set up a partnership, or if you're going to consider doing this for your practice? So a partnership is basically owned by 2 or more people who share the profits and responsibilities. And this is essentially what a sole proprietorship is with more than one person. So if you had all the same information from the sole prop video and you just added another person into it, now you have 2 people sharing the same liability, taxes, and operations. It's very similar in liabilities. Partners usually face the same thing. You're getting unlimited personal liability, and it's going to be similar to what a sole proprietorship is going to be. But you could also set up a partnership where it is structured as a limited partnership, which is going to come in another video. That's an LLC, and you could do a limited liability partnership rather than a limited liability company, and we'll talk about that probably on the next video. But in general, as a general sole proprietorship that is a sole prop partnership, you're going to face unlimited personal liability, and you're definitely going to want some sort of agreement to decide on who's liable for what. And you really want to make sure that you and your partner have a very solid contract that outlines everything, because when business goes wrong and personal assets are on the table, who's responsible for their house? If there's a business debt, you want to make sure that that's very clearly outlined in a contract. So this requires a partnership agreement to very clearly define the roles, to very clearly define your roles and responsibilities, and to very clearly define the profit sharing and who's getting what percentage, and how invested people are, because the person who is providing more of the business operations is usually going to be the person who is risking more of the liability, because they're more responsible for how the business is operating. So I am not a legal person. I'm not a lawyer at all. I could totally be wrong. So if you are a lawyer and you do know the laws, please put it in the comments for everybody else. This is just a very general overview from my limited understanding about how laws and legal system works. From what I understand about partnerships, it's basically a sole prop unless it's registered as an LLP. And if you have a sole prop partnership, it's unlimited liability for both parties involved, and you want to have a clear contract to decide on who's liable for what. And as far as taxes are concerned, the business income is going to pass through the personal tax returns of both partners, and each pays tax on their share of the profits, which again is why you want to have very defined roles, responsibilities, and profit sharing, because if one person is supposed to get a certain percentage and the other person is supposed to get a different percentage, the bottom line of your profit and loss statement does not necessarily go to one person. It's split by percentages and shares, and you want to make sure that that's very clearly defined, so that when tax time comes around and you're trying to decide on what your personal tax returns are and what your income statement is, you need to be aware of, what the business took in and then what you're taking home from that. So it's all got to be very accounted for, and in a partnership situation, you want to make sure that the contract is super duper clear on who's responsible for what, because it is, again, unlimited personal liability. I would not recommend this for a massage therapist if you're going into a partnership. Certainly go into an LLP if you're going to do that. But I really wouldn't recommend a partnership, period, for most massage therapists unless there's a very unique scenario. So stay tuned for the next video where we'll go into LLCs and then S Corps and describe the differences between those two. Last video we did sole proprietorship. So if you want to take a look at that video, it's in the list of this series here. Thanks so much for your time, and catch you next week.